off stage at Orchestra Hall, and there's been an interesting conversation here, Barney Kessel with a group of people, and the elusive of the art, the elusive development of an artist. We might touch a little more on that, Barney Kessel. That hasn't been belabored, but I was thinking that you made a very interesting distinction between just a pianist and just a guitarist and a true artist, between Jascha Heifetz and just a violinist.
Well, of course, it would take a long time to expound on that, but basically it's simply the fact that most people play music in a sort of yeoman-like way, and they do it in the same way that they would develop the ability to play chess or tennis. And whereas in music, the thing that differentiates it as an art as opposed to just a craft or a skill is the fact that the person develops himself as a person and uses music to express himself. He expresses his own person, his own personality through the music, using the music as a vehicle for expression, and he calls on spontaneity. He does not just simply use the devices and the formulae of the skill. He doesn't just call on these things that always work, because the thing that really makes an artist is when he can really make an experience that is memorable for everyone, and that's based on improvisation, and spontaneity, creativity of the moment, allowing himself to get in a situation he's never been in before.
Ellington always spoke of the elusive melody and the great search for it. This also is a part of it.
Yeah, it is. I think melody is one of the most difficult things to come by, and it's one of the most difficult things for musicians to develop is a sense of melody. You see, the thing, and I don't mean to sound tricky or profound in this, but there has always been a tremendous amount of people that can play instruments well, but very few people even today make music. Very few people make music. They can move on the instruments, they can blow them, they can pick them, they can pound on them, but very few people make music.
Barney, you and your colleagues paid tribute to Django Reinhardt, to Wes Montgomery and Charlie Christian. How do they fit into this whole concept we've been talking about? Django Reinhardt, for one.
Well, these people were all innovators. They came along and produced a particular set of values in music that had not been produced before. And I must say that each one of them had great handicaps, and each one of them played with great limitations. Django Reinhardt had 2 fingers on his left hand that were paralyzed. They were on his hand, but he could not use them. Wes Montgomery did not have the advantage of a pick or using a legitimate finger style, so he played with his thumb, and what he did was the hard way to do it. Had he known better, it would have been easier, but he did it in spite of that. Charlie Christian was very limited, an uneducated man, uneducated scholastically as well as musically, and he did things like not use the 4th finger of his left hand at all. He played in a very crude manner, in a very limited way, so that it's almost unbelievable they could even play at all, and yet it came out. And when you stop and consider that they did not do anything as well as the average 16-year-old today is taught. They didn't have the facility, they didn't have the equipment, and yet they persevered and came up with their own individual sound so that they are identifiable. So it's in tribute to that we made up this medley to honor them.
One other thought before we disappear into the night and become voices in the wind. The challenge of your 3 colleagues in programming music for the guitar must be a fascinating one. Just a little bit about it and what it's done for all of you.
Well, I don't know how to exactly respond. Maybe you could ask me a question. I don't know how to respond to that.
3 guitarists of formidable skill come together, and they're soloists or their rhythm section, and now they become a small combination. Instead of a tenor horn out there and a trumpet or a voice, Well, you're still the same force, aren't you?
Yes, we are. But what is it that you would like me to comment on that?
Well, I'm thinking that, here are three very strong personalities, and three men who probably are good friends, and what's the result in your mind? I mean, the music materials, the programming, what comes out in your own mind as you sit there?
Well, first of all, the human element, which I think to me is stronger than the musical element. First of all, we have great regard for each other. We are friends. And it's because we are friends and because we realize that we do communicate, but because we are friends that we decided that we would, for a part of each year, get together and do this kind of thing as a group called the Great Guitars. If we played, if each person played 10 times better than he plays, but we didn't get along, or if maybe we just got along, but it was just mildly getting along, I don't think we would do this. I think the main reason we are together is because we like to be together, we like each other, and can produce some music. We each, when we are working alone, we take on a more ambitious program. We take on more that taxes us, more for the listener to have to listen to and figure out, a more ambitious program. But when we're together, we sort of fall into a common denominator. We want to keep it light. We don't want to get too abstract, too tonal, too off the wall, as they say. We just want to communicate in a kind of a mainstream approach, just happy, swinging sounds that you don't have to be a Juilliard graduate to figure out. And so to me, what I think is it's the culmination really of a dream to be able to travel all over the world with people that you like and play the kind of music you like and get paid for it, I think, and have people like it. I think it's terrific.
Do you see a renaissance in jazz since the age of rock exploded upon us?
Yeah, I do. I do see a renaissance of jazz somewhat, but mostly I see the public more than buying jazz. I see them buying individuals in jazz. In other words, not just, I don't see the public all of a sudden falling madly in love with the tenor saxophone as an example, but I do see them liking certain people that play the tenor saxophone. And because of that, there would be certain elements, certain individuals, certain songs in jazz that they would like. I don't think that they're accepting it carte blanche or accepting all players carte blanche, but I think that there are those people that come up that communicate on certain instruments at certain times, and I think that there is a renaissance. There's definitely a moving away from the early, I would call the early non-professional rock values. The people who used to buy an instrument and 3 months later they're in their garage making records, I think that kind of thing is really fading fast.
That's good to hear, Barney Kessel. From backstage at Orchestra Hall, thank you very much in behalf of your colleagues.
Pleasure to be with you. Thank you.